Now, the Veterinary Service Directorate of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture today failed to destroy a 40-feet container full of contaminated frozen poultry products after a brief standoff with managers of a dumping site where the product was to be destroyed. And the management of the refuse dump maintained that they needed prior notice from the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and the Tema Municipal Assembly before the said destruction could happen. Henry Kwesibedu was there. Here is his report.
The 40-feet container loaded with Gizzard was scheduled to be destroyed Friday at the Tema dumping site. The container is one of 4 containers marked as contaminated and imported from Brazil, later impounded by the Veterinary Services Directorate of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. That was after the department discovered that the Gizzard was infested with salmonella, a bacteria harmful for human consumption. Dr. Isieduba is director of the service.
We had an alert from the Brazilian embassy that some companies have imported Gizzard, 4 containers, which were contaminated with a bacteria called salmonella. 3
of the containers were cleared from the port and its contents sold to the general public without the knowledge of the veterinary service.
And out of the 4 containers, 3 has been cleared, and we did a trace back and we went to the importers and we found out that it's true. They've taken out 3 containers and sold the products to the general public.
Which is
which is unwholesome products.
The destruction was however halted as permits to dispose the content at the Tema disposal site was not ready. A combined team drawn from the National Security Customs Service and Tema Port officials struggled to get permission to offload the truck.
What is happening now is we wanted to destroy a contaminated product, Gizzard, which is infected with a bacteria called salmonella. But it seems there's a hitch somewhere because the DMA and the Ghana Ports Authority couldn't make the necessary arrangements to destroy this product. So I'm going back to the TMA and talk over the issue with them and see whether we can resolve the issue so that we either bury or destroy the products or we take back the container to the state-funded house.
The Ministry of Food and Agriculture says it will ensure the 2 importers are sanctioned.
We have also alerted the BNI at the port that the importers did import the products without recourse to the Veterinary Directorate, that is import duty and import permit rather, and veterinary health certificate.
The container has however been returned to the state storage facility at Tema, awaiting clearance to be destroyed. Henry Kwesibedu's report for JoyNews.
So where did the 3 40-footer containers of contaminated poultry disappear to? Out here in the studio, PRO for the, he speaks for the Ghana Food and Drugs Authority, Mr. James Latte. He's actually head of communication at the Food and Drugs Authority. Mr. James Latte. Mr. James Latte, it's been a while. Thank you for coming.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, so that's a big question this afternoon. People love Gizzard. I love Gizzard.
I also do.
I eat Gizzard I can eat Gizzard like every day. Wow. So we're all alarmed. Yeah. We're all alarmed. First of all, I want you to take us through the process of clearing food from the port.
All right, thank you very much. And let me say good afternoon to all viewers. Yes, when it comes to clearance of food from the ports, when your consignment, in actual fact, you're supposed to seek for approval by applying for a permit. Okay. And I don't know whether we should concentrate on cold products like these veterinary products.
Yes, please.
Good. So when you apply for the permit, the FDA, together with national security, and then SEPS will inspect the consignment. When the consignment is inspected, if everything is seen to be okay, then you are allowed to clear the products.
Okay.
Now, in this instance, the products were imported into the country 3 different dates. That was in December 2018, January 2019, and then February 2019. These 4 containers arrived within this period.
So just a second, when you were telling us about how to you need to apply for the permit, I wanted to ask whether all of that is done within 1 day.
Yeah, it can be done
the
within
process
1 day.
can be done within one day. But so now tell us about this specific case we're dealing with.
So when the containers arrived, the owners, that is, I'm talking about the 3 containers were imported by Perez, and the other one by a company called Perfect God Enterprise.
Okay.
So Perez applied to clear the products. FDA, SEPS, National Security went to the container, compared the seal. You know, normally when it comes, it is sealed.
Yeah.
So they compared the seal number with the documentation, and it was found to be the same consignment. So it was opened. But before it was opened, we needed to see what we call health certificate. That's supposed to be issued by the country of origin, authority from the country of origin. That's Brazil. This was inspected. If I have a copy here.
Okay,
and
we can have a look at it.
Yes, and it was found to be wholesome. Yeah, it's a copy of.
Okay.
The,
okay, please go ahead.
Yes, it was found to be wholesome. You know, so they were allowed to clear the products.
Okay.
And this was cleared in March 2019.
Wow.
March 2019.
Okay. So
yes.
Just to be clear, when you say this, which of them? Because there's the
3 containers.
The 3 containers. The
belong
one
to Perez.
And that's the one containing the infested gizzard.
All the 4 containers
are all gizzard.
All gizzard.
Okay.
All the 4 are gizzard.
Okay.
You understand?
So 3 by Perez.
And 1 by Perfect God.
Okay. And the 3 by Perez were
examined and cleared.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, after clearance, FDA, we've not received any complaints. We've not heard anything until last week.
Okay.
When we had information that apparently there had been an alert that came to the veterinary services that the 4 containers were contaminated. The gizzard were contaminated. Okay. All the 4.
All the 4 belonging to both Perez and God,
yes.
Perfect God Enterprise.
Good. Okay. And they had this information in April 2019.
The veterinary service had this information in April 2019.
That's according to them, April 2019.
Okay.
But the things were cleared in March, early March 2019. That's the 3 containers.
Okay.
So when they had the alert, they wrote to GAPOA. And then GAPOA informed them that 3 of the containers had already been cleared. So only 1 that is remaining. That's the one belonging to Perfect God.
Okay.
So that was retained. So that's the product that they were going to destroy last week that entered into this week.
That we just, the story that we just played.
So the point is this, honestly, until this destruction came up, FDA was never aware that there had even been any alert that the products were contaminated.
Okay, so here is my understanding of what you said so far. 2 companies decided to import poultry products into this country, and by poultry products we're talking about gizzard.
In this instance, yes.
4 containers, 3 belonging to one belonging to the other.
Yes.
All 4, 3 of them were cleared, belonging to Perez were cleared after all the necessary checks were made.
Exactly.
And the checks you did included a health certificate that was supposed to have been issued by the Brazilian authorities, which is this document I have here. Okay, so we just put this up a little bit for the camera to come closer, just in case you want to satisfy yourself what documents we're dealing with. So this is a document that came from the Brazilian authorities certifying that the products being imported by Perez is wholesome.
Exactly.
Okay. And this happened in March 2019.
Exactly.
But then as of April 2019, there was an alert that the products were contaminated.
Yes.
Okay. How do you verify when a document like this from Brazil says that this product is wholesome, but actually the product is not wholesome? How does the FDA check that?
You know, we have been dealing with these agencies.
Okay.
Because they bring in their products, they bring certificates, which we verify, we know they are genuine.
Okay.
So when a genuine certificate comes, we know it is a genuine certificate.
Okay.
And in this instance, this is not a fake certificate.
This is genuine.
It's genuine.
So does it mean that the Brazilian authorities...
Let me come in here and explain it. You see, for instance, a batch of Gizzard had been produced, and then the batch had been distributed to different countries.
Okay.
Along the line after distribution, it was noticed in a particular batch that there's a contamination.
Okay.
So you realize that then there's assumption that the one that might have been released within that same batch to other countries would also be contaminated. So what you do is that you immediately alert that country. Okay. So when it arrives, you pick sample, you test it to confirm whether it's also affected like the other ones that you've noticed. Okay. So it doesn't mean that the initial certificate that came was fake or wasn't well done. No.
Okay.
This is how it happens. It's like sending a batch of consignment to a country.
And among the batch, you have...
Among the batch, you notice that there's a problem. So there's this assumption that then the other ones who within that batch that you have distributed already could also be affected. So immediately you give an alert. So the country that is receiving the products will take the necessary steps, test it. If it confirms the alert that has come, then you hold it. Now, let's go back to this. This information came in April 2019, according to veterinary services. If FDA had been given information, though at that time the product had been cleared about a month, we could have immediately issued a statement, followed up with the importer, demanded a withdrawal, and around that time, within 1 month, we would have distributed all the products. So we could have even detained the one in his warehouse at the time that the alert came. But I'm saying that this alert we got to know just last week.
Just last week?
Just last week. 1 year almost after the alert came.
So you're saying that the veterinary service, it is actually, you're blaming the veterinary service for not alerting?
What I'm saying is that we were not informed till last week. That is
so the veterinary service sat on information vital to public health, failed to inform the failed to inform FDA that there is contaminated gizzard out there and Ghanaians are eating it.
And you know an interesting thing, just this morning we had a meeting, management in FDA. We decided that despite what is going on, we have not seen a copy of the alert. Let us call veterinary services and ask just for a copy. When we called, the response we had was that we cannot give you a copy till the Minister of Agri has given clearance. We said, an alert. Well, we ended it there. You know, so well, I can't understand what is happening. I must be honest with you.
This is scandalous. Yes, I don't know. I'm scandalized by what is happening. So essentially, the FDA still does not have the alert.
We don't have it.
That shows that these containers or these products are contaminated. And you called, and the veterinary service told you they need clearance from the minister to do that.
Before they can give you
before they can give you the alert.
Well, what we have done now as an institution is that, though there's every possibility that the products would have been consumed, we still this morning we dispatched our officers to Perez Company to go through their documentation to check where they distributed the products. So we go and see whether we can retrieve at least some. We are not sure whether we can.
Okay.
But something we're just trying just to ensure public health and safety.
Have you had any feedback from the officers?
Before I came, I have not gotten any feedback from them.
Okay, they went out in the morning?
Yes, in the morning.
Usually, will it be very easy for the FDA, based on your experience,
yes,
to be able to
normally
trace?
Once we go into their documentation, one training we've given to these importers is that keep information of all distribution. So when we go into the documentation and we notice the distribution line, we'll just make checks. If it's go to other regions, we'll alert our officers in the regions, go to this coast, or we've been told they were giving some. Check whether they have some there. If there's some there, detain it. This is how we are going to work.
Does the FDA have enough capacity to follow this through and through?
We do that. We've had these experiences and we'll be able to manage it. And I know we can do it.
Let's talk about, they call it salmonella.
Yes.
I'll come back to Perez,
yes.
But I want us to talk about salmonella.
Yes.
Can you educate us on this?
Yes,
what is it?
It is a bacterial infection. You understand? It's a bacteria that causes an infection.
Okay.
And normally when you get this infection, it makes you feel a bit feverish.
Okay.
You may have a little running stomach or some small weakness, pains, like fever. You know, this is what normally is associated with it. And I will say that, you know, if even people have consumed this gizzard and have experienced this, they may not link it to the gizzard.
They will
even
think
normal fever and things, they might have treated it, it might be okay. Fortunately for us, from last year to now, we've not had any report. No, normally when people consume certain things and they have experience, they call FDA, inform us that I bought this product, I took it, this is what I experienced. We've not had anything like that, but we are still monitoring. We are still monitoring, see what happens.
Just because you mentioned the veterinary service, we've been trying to speak to Aseduba of the veterinary services. He's telling us that he cannot speak to the issue now. We'll still keep trying to reach the ministry to find out if there's any explanation to why people looked on for Ghanaians to consume contaminated gizzard for what, almost about a year. This is certainly scandalous. Mr. Lati, I'm coming back to you. The way the salmonella works, will it be able to kill somebody? Because if you're feverish, you're running stomach, weakness, pain, beginning to sound like coronavirus.
Oh, no, please don't go there. The effect is mild. I did some small search about it, just a few questions before coming here. You know, it's not that, but I mean, we shouldn't underestimate it. You know, there are things that start little, later escalate and create other things. You understand? So no matter how small it is, I think we should see it as a serious thing that we need to address. Yes.
Yes. I want us to talk about the process of destroying products that are found to be unwholesome. Okay. So they went there, and the guards say, we can't allow you because you did not even come with a permit. Okay. So we can't destroy it. Okay. I'm thinking, the time between when they moved from the veterinary department to Tema and back and had the vehicle parked till what, the weekend? I mean, can't anybody have access to it? What's usually the process? Oh,
for access, I know when it comes to certain things, there's extra vigilance placed on it to ensure that people do not have access to the products. It's actually sealed, sometimes locked with padlocks to make sure that nobody gets access to the products.
When it's when there are detected problems with it?
Yes, and they are detained. Okay. Yes, normally, I mean, there's strict protection to the product. That one I can assure you. Assure you that.
But as for padlocks, people can always break padlocks. They do that all the time.
Yes, but normally you wouldn't see this in just packed anywhere at all. Places that there's a bit of security checks.
I mean, over the weekend, security usually is, if it's parked at the ministry, I don't know where it's parked, but if it's parked at the ministry, security at the ministry over the weekend may not be as what you get on a Monday.
I can show you, I don't ever think it's been tampered with, honestly speaking.
Well, we're also hearing that the container that was supposed to, the last container that was supposed to be destroyed, the products in the container that is supposed to be destroyed didn't happen today as well. As we're hearing, the permits, the so-called permits they need, has still not come in. So that product is still there. Mr. Latte, talk to us about sanctions. Yes. They said, we had the veterinary man say, Perez company, they will be sanctioned.
You see, I wish I wouldn't go into this, but if, for instance, I've imported a product into the country and I've gone through the due process, they've checked everything, the permits I'm supposed to submit, I submitted the permit, health certificate was maybe issued. I showed it, I proved everything, it was inspected, everything was cleared. What have I done wrong?
Okay.
You understand?
Okay.
The alert
companies
came,
themselves
yes,
may not be aware.
The alert came after the clearance. If again, when the alert came, for instance, FDA told Perez, we've had this information, don't distribute the products, and then he does, then you can sanction him. But nothing like that happened. So I don't know how well, I can't tell, but that's
investigations are still ongoing. Okay, Mr. Latte, we'll wrap up here, but if you do have any final words quickly, you can add it as we wrap up on this conversation.
All I want to say is that we'll continue to collaborate with agencies to ensure that the general public is protected at all times. That's one assurance I'll give to the general public.
Well, we hope that we'll be able to rest assured in that assurance. But again, we'll be monitoring the Food and Drugs Authority, because we need to hear back from those who have gone to the Perez company to find out where these products were distributed to and how we can trace.
I promise I'll give you feedback.
Certainly. We know that you will come through with that. You always appear when we call you in. So James Latte is Head of Communication for the Food and Drugs Authority. Now, I will recommend that, Mr. Latte, I'm sure you support this. I recommend that people do not eat gizzard. You won't? I mean, that sounds like a safest thing to do right now, until this matter is over and done with.
Well, I mean, self-protection is good.
So, you recommend?
Self-protection is good.
So, you recommend?
I wouldn't want to say that, and then you quote it that FDA says that don't eat gizzard. No, I wouldn't want to say that. But
shouldn't FDA be saying that we shouldn't eat gizzard?
Let us, I gave you an assurance that we've gone out. Okay. Let's give you a feedback. And then based upon the feedback, we can give an information out.
Okay, so hopefully we get that feedback by tomorrow.
I promise you.
Thank you very much for coming. James Latte is Head of Communications with the Food and Drugs Authority. I would recommend you don't eat gizzard for now until the matter is over and done with, because we don't know where it's gone to. Anyway, you're still watching The Pulse with me, Gifty and Opia. We've just been talking to the FDA about unwholesome products, poultry products, and I'm talking about gizzard that has been imported into the country. 4 containers, 3 of them already distributed out there, 1 still waiting to be destroyed.